Python Practice Problems, Video Number 1, Simple Variables and Basic Print. I'm Stephen Marcus, and I'm doing a series of Python practice videos. There's a link in the description to my short introduction video that tells who I am and how these videos are being done and what to expect. Also in the description is a link to this Jupyter Notebook without the answers so that you can go through it on your own, either before you watch the video or with me as I do the problems. Furthermore, in the description are a list of links to use as a starting point for your search for how to complete each problem. To use this video, I'm assuming that you already have Python 3 and Jupyter Notebook installed. If you need help with that, I also have some links in the description for that. I'm also assuming that you've been learning the basics of Python variables and are ready for some practice. Let's begin with number 1. This is the tradition, hello world. Print hello world. Print hello world. The thing to notice is a literal string like this has to be in quotations and it goes within the parentheses. Hello world. Number 2, create a variable name named name that contains a string, a name. So let's do that. Name equals, again I have to put this in quotes, Wilbur. Print a literal string, hello, I join them together with a plus, and name, hello Wilbur. Let's check something out here. Are variable names case sensitive? Yes, they are. Variable names can contain upper or lowercase letters and numbers and an underscore. They just can't start with a number. Alright, let's go on to number 3. Create 3 variables to hold 3 strings. Title, first, and last names. So let's begin with title equals Mr. First equals Orville. Right. Print hello plus title plus first last. I've just joined them together with pluses. Okay, that did it, but we can make it a lot better looking by putting in some spaces. To get spaces in between these, we just have to manually put them in. So plus, and there's me a space. And then I'll also need one there. Hello, Mr. Orville Wright. What if we put first in quotations? It's no longer referencing a variable. It's going to literally put in the word first. So that's something to look out for. Number 4. Print chicken, 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 chicken by manually specifying the string chicken only once. We're going to print this 4 times just like it is right here, but we're only going to specify it once. If you'd like to stop the video and try that, go ahead and then come back. I'm going to make a variable and just call it var chicken. Now I could do this, literally give it chicken times 4. This is something that Python kind of lets you do. It will let you multiply this string times 4. Another way I could have done this, since I did set that variable, I can say variable times 4 and get the same thing. And now if I change this to something else, there we go. But now I've lost my spaces. So to make this work, I can enclose this in parentheses so the multiplication by 4 applies to all that. There we go. Problem number 5. We're printing chicken again multiple times, but this time we want to use one statement but have it print on multiple lines. If you'd like to stop the video and try that, go ahead and do that and come back. Print chicken, we'll introduce the new line. \n is a special character that causes a new line. We only wanted it 3 times, so chicken, chicken, chicken. So that's kind of ugly too. We can say, I'm going to make a variable name and call it a equals chicken, like that. And then I can say a times 3. And it did the same thing. Number 6 is kind of the opposite of number 5. Want 3 print statements, but want all of them to wind up on one line just like we had it before. Again, if you want to stop the video and try this and come back, you're welcome to do that. Let's go ahead and make our variables. Title equals Mr. equals oral. Right, so there are my 3 variables. If I say print title, I also have to say print hello with a space. Every time you use the print statement, it's going to put it on its own separate line. So in order to fix that, there's a special way you can use print. You can add a comma. Normally the print function appends a new line to the end every time it prints something, but we can defeat that and redefine it by saying, I don't want a new line, I want a nothing. End. So I'm specifying basically nothing in between the parentheses on each one of these. And it worked, but it jammed them together, so how about if I put a space in there? There's nothing after last, so we're okay with that. So instead of using a new line, and actually if I'm going to use that, I can get rid of that extra space I have in there. So I've redefined the way that the print function works and put in an end instead of a new line. Number 7. Another example with control codes in it. Print, there are 3 chickens in the house. That's pretty straightforward. The issue that this problem presents is putting in quotes. Now, if I put quotes in right here, Jupyter Notebooks does a pretty good job of warning you when you're doing something goofy. You'll notice chickens is in black. It's saying, okay, this is not part of this string. So it's going to try to print this. It's not going to understand what chickens is, and it's just going to crash. It's not going to work. So what we need to do is to go in and escape out these quotes. Now it's all red, and it's saying when you get to this quote, don't treat it as a control character. Just put it in as just text. And that allowed me to have quotes inside that. So that's pretty straightforward. Problem number 8. Set a variable named b to 4. b equals 4. Use the variable to print the answer is 4. Print answer is plus b. Okay, if I try to run this with Control Enter, it says no, we can't run an integer and a literal piece of text together. To fix this, we can do that. That actually ran. The big problem I have with this is now I can't do anything with that 4. It's a piece of text. I'll introduce you to another command. Type b. I've commented out this line with the pound sign, and I've said what type is b, and it says it's a string. So if I say c equals b plus 4, we get another error because it's a string. You can't do addition with a string. That doesn't make sense. So B needs to be 4, and I'll use my type again, and it'll tell me it's an integer. Python is really generous with what it allows you to do with its variables. In languages like C, you have to worry about how much memory each variable is taken up. You have to declare it, all this. Python is really generous with this thing. So now we could do something like C equals B plus 2. And we didn't use the answer, but it didn't crash. So I'm going to comment that out. And the answer is B. And we still have the same problem again. We've got to do something with this because it's an integer. So I'm going to cast that. It's called casting. I'm going to say take B and make it into a string and then go with it. The answer is 4. Problem number 9. Create a variable named A that contains the number 4. A equals 4. Create a variable named B that contains the number 5. B equals 5. Create a variable named C that contains the sum of A and B. And I'll take just a second to say these are terrible variable names. The only time that you would use A, B, and C for variable names is in explaining stuff just because it's easier to type. In the real world, you would probably want descriptive variable names that actually tell what they are so that it will make your code a lot more readable. And what I want here is 4 plus 5 equals 9. So I can do this. 4 plus 5 plus, equals, plus, cast my C as a string, and I got it to work, but it's kind of ugly. This is called hard coding, and it's not really good practice. Let's see if we can do this a little bit better. I'm going to say print, I'll just come down here, print, the first is A, so I'm going to cast A. At the risk of this being a little hard to follow, I'm adding the plus sign that's in between the 4 and the 5, and then I'm going to cast B plus, I'm going to add in my equal sign, plus, and cast my C. So I've done the same thing. I'm going to leave that just like it is. But what if I want to say 14 and 15? The first one never changed because this was hard-coded in there. The second one picked up and did something that made sense. One last thing that I would like to mention is we really don't have to have that variable. The math on this is so simple, I can actually put that in just right there. And I just saved myself a variable. All right, moving on to number 10. Problem number 10 is here basically just to reaffirm that yes, parentheses work the way that they're supposed to in Python. Create variables, hold 3, 4, and 5. I won't cut and paste. I'll say A equals 3, B equals 4, C equals 5. Again, we don't want to hard code this, so I'm going to say cast A as a string, that's my 3, plus a plus, cast my B as a string. I can see that I have already left out this left parenthesis, so let's go back. The parenthesis actually doesn't have to be escaped out. Left parenthesis, A, B. I need my right parenthesis, and I'm getting ready to make a mistake. And if you can see what it is, I've left out my plus sign. That's a really common error, or at least it is with me. So my next thing is I'm going to put in this 5, which is, I'm going to have to cast it because it's an integer, C, plus my equal sign, plus, And I'm finally to my answer. I'm doing integer math, so my answer I know is going to have to be cast as a string. I'm going to do a plus b times c. Let's cross our fingers. There we go. So the good thing that I've done here is everything is in a variable and nothing is hard-coded down here in this. Again, this makes your code easier to read and for other people to read later on. So if I make a from 3 to 13 and rerun it, my math all makes sense. And that's a good practice to get into. Problem number 11. Print the result of 3 raised to the 5th power. If you need to stop the video, stop it and try this and then come back. The simplest version of this is 3 raised to the 5th power gives us 243. Python will just print this out for us even without a print statement if we do something really simple like this. But let's do something that actually gives us some practice at some better practices. A equals 3, B equals 5. Print, and I'm going to make my statement look just like this. Print string A plus space raised to the string B power is. Now what clued me into this is black, and is actually a keyword in Python, so it made it a bold green, which was kind of telling me you forgot to put your quotes in. There. Power is plus, and now I just need my answer. It's going to be a string, so I can say A splat splat B. I can pound this out. I had a university professor that called asterisks splat, and I thought it was funny. 3 raised to the 5 power, I need a space. I need 2 spaces. It's 243. And again, I can change this however I want to. And I don't have to monkey with my code anymore. Number 12. Create a variable to hold the values 20 and 3. And then we're going to split this up as the whole number and the remainder. A equals 20, B equals 3. Print is I know it's got to be cast as a string. I can say A divided by B. Now, just a second of explanation about what's going on here. These are both integers. Python took these as integers as opposed to a floating point because there are no points in here. If I had said 3.0, Python would have said, oh, B's a floating point. Well, this is just 2 integers being divided by each other. And the way that Python does integers, it truncates anything that's not part of the original integer. So if the result of this had been 4.99999, it would have given you a 4. Sometimes it's called floor division. It truncates anything after the period. It doesn't round up like you'd think it might do. It actually just truncates it. But this is going to give me what I want. I want the main whole number here with a remainder of, and now let's get the rest of this. And again, it's going to come out as an integer. I can say A modulus B, and what the modulus operator does, the percent, it returns the remainder, like you're doing 3rd grade math, just what value was left over when you divided 20 by 3. Okay, now we got an irrational number, so we need to work on this. So there we have our 2 variables. The idea is we want the whole number, and then we want the remainder as if we were doing math in the 3rd grade. We just want the whole number and then the value that's left over. We intentionally don't want to deal with decimal numbers. So if I say A divided by B, it gives me an irrational number. But I can cast that as an integer, and sometimes it's called floor division, but it rounds down when you do integer division that way. So if that had come out, and it actually did come out 0.666, that would have rounded up. If it had been 0.9999, you'd think it would round up, but it doesn't. It truncates everything after the point. So this is the first part of what we're wanting to do here. So I'm going to say print the answer is plus, this is what I want, but I need it cast as a string. And I actually, there we go. You can click over your parentheses and see which one it's referencing, so that makes things a little bit easier. With a remainder of, how do we get our remainder? Well, I know I'm going to have to cast it as a string. I can do A, B. There we go. This will give me the remainder. The answer is 6 with a remainder of 2. Number 13. Create a variable named var1 that contains the result of 10 divided by 3. Print the result, limiting the display of the variable to 2 decimal places. Or what do we do if we actually want the decimal places and need to control them? If you want to stop the video and go look this up and give it a try, go ahead. var1 equals 10 divided by 3. Print the result is plus string var1. Let's see where it gets us. It's an irrational number, so it's just going to scrawl out a big bunch of it. So let's do this. To format this to control it, this is one of these things that you just kind of have to write down and remember. Format var1. There, this specifies a float with 2 decimal places after the period. This, you're probably best off to go ahead and just write that down and put it in your notes somewhere, because you're going to use it over and over again. It's worth having. And a version that's even a little bit better, if you put a comma right there, your numbers to the left of the period, it will break it up into the 3-digit hunks the way we like to see them in English, at least in American English. Okay, on to number 14. In problem number 14, we're going to reuse a variable, and we're going to make some columns that look better than they wind up looking in Markdown language. A equals 1. So let's see how we would print that line out. Print A equals, get the value of A plus A plus 1 equals, and then we'll do the value of A plus 1. Now if we come back to here, we need to do something about our spacing because it's pretty ugly. We can use another control character. Remember, if we said backslash n was a new line. Well, backslash t is a tab, so that makes that look a good bit better. So I'm going to cut and paste this and say plus 2 and plus 3, and let's see if this does what we want it to do. There we go. Now the rest of this should be straightforward. All we have to do is cut and paste and put it in there. All I have to do is change my variable A, and it will work the way we want it to through the rest of the problem. Problem number 15. Find a simple way to print the following example. We've seen how that you can print multiples of a string. We can do it this way. Print happy times 2. Happy, happy. Okay. We could do this plus joy times 2. And you gotta have your parentheses straight. Happy, happy, joy, joy. And I can see I'm missing a space. And it's actually repeating that again. So we can do this whole thing times 2. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy. That's this one. This is pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to cut and paste. Happy, happy twice. Joy, joy, joy is 3. And it looks like the whole thing is done 3 times. Happy. This one is actually real simple. Happy times 6. And with this one, we actually, I think, can just take over this first one again and replace happy with this and that. This, that, that. This, that, that. And we just needed a third time. So that's a quick way to kind of automate some of your text. Number 16, how do you deal with different characters in a print statement? If you'd like to pause the video and go research this and figure it out, go ahead and then come back. Print. Jalapeno peppers are good on pizza. Now, how do we switch this into this? Well, if you look up the ASCII codes for the special characters, you'll find you can do a \x and its code is F1. Jalapeno peppers are good on pizza. Now, if you're going to be using a lot of these, it may be worth your while to say, I'm going to use just the term in thing. There, I've defined that as a variable representing a string, and I can say print plus in thing and that way I can use this wherever I need it. All right, that was number 16. Thank you for watching. If you feel that you've gotten anything from this video, please hit the like button. This video is one of my first Python practice problem videos, so I'm anxious to see if there's enough interest to continue creating them. If you'd like to be notified when I create new Python videos, please hit subscribe. If there's enough interest, I would like to create more Python videos that go beyond just the basics. I would like to eventually do problems that are more like you would find in a real-world environment. I would also like to consider branching out into other languages like R or C++. Thanks again for watching.